Okay, guys, I'm gonna make a series of videos for y'all over the next, I don't know, some time. I'm gonna try to keep them as brief as possible. This one might be a little bit longer than some future ones, but it seems like we tend to agree on just about everything that's observable here on Earth. But where we get into disagreements is on narratives that are handed down to us from the beast or the beast system. And it's strange to me that that's about the only place we ever tend to really disagree. Generally speaking, you guys tend to uh, defend the consensus belief. Whatever the majority believes, you guys defend that, you know, and sometimes adamantly. Um, but it seems like anything that I've tried to show you guys in the past, you guys have never said, "Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a good point, Mace. I haven't thought about that. I've never seen that before." I don't get those kinds of responses. I never get them. The flat earthers, they do come up with some amazingly crazy shit, and I'm just it's kind of mind blowing to me to see you guys have an opportunity to see these things. I show them to y'all and try to point out to y'all, and I can't get a win. I mean, there's just no way I can get. You guys will not concede one point when it comes to these narratives that the beast has given us. And I'm saying, hey, look, there's a problem. I think they're lying to us, guys. Take a look at this. I never get, oh, that's interesting. I think you might be onto something. It's always defend the beast, defend the beast, defend the beast. So I probably should start with the day after September 10th, 2001, because that one to me is a lot easier to break through on. But it should be pretty easy to see, in my opinion, that they are doing a lot more fakery with space as well. So today's video, I'm going to title this one 4MRS, and that stands for my old buddies from college, Mayden, Robb, and Sparky. And I'm hoping that when you guys watch these, if you guys would, just send me a text message and say, hey, I saw your video. That's interesting. I've never seen that. Or, here's where you're wrong, Mace. Here's where you're mistaken. This is what you're not seeing. Just let me know. Give me some feedback. I would really appreciate that. But this is a high altitude balloon that I found on a YouTube search this morning. These guys back in 2017 sent this weather balloon up to 77,000 feet. And the bottom part of the screen is the Earth we're seeing, and then the top part is the stars. And the reason I want to point that out is because can you believe that the way the stars appear from that altitude has changed since the 1960s? Now, I think I've told you guys before by text message that I do believe that going back and looking at the older footage of when they were faking space, it's a lot easier to point out their flaws and problems in that, and errors that they made back then with lesser technology. And they're still making plenty of mistakes today. But I just think the ones from, you know, early space days were much easier to point out the problems with them. So this is what the stars look like from 77,000 feet on that high altitude weather balloon. But they haven't always looked that way. This is astronomy.com. Now, most of you guys would consider this to be a mainstream, reputable source for information. Now, I would say it's nothing but lies and propaganda, but you guys probably believe that this is a reputable source. So in 1962, they sent up Project Stargazer. These two guys got into a capsule. There's a picture of them looking into their telescope. And the reason that they wanted to, what they did was they went up to 82,000 feet. And they stayed, one of the articles I read this morning said they stayed there for 13 hours. This one says they stayed for 18 hours. And that's fairly typical. Now, of course, this was over 50 years ago, but that does seem to be fairly typical with these lies. They can't get their story straight on a lot of these lies. But it was a joint effort between the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, the Smithsonian Institute, and MIT. And so they sent these two guys up to 82,000 feet so that they could see what the stars looked like from that elevation, where they wouldn't have as much of Earth's atmosphere blocking their view of the stars and planets. And so it was a high altitude helium balloon, and you see them there getting into their capsule. I'm going to fast forward here to towards the end of the video. There he is looking through his thing. Now I'm going to pause it real quick. Now what's going to happen is YouTube's going to start popping up advertisements for other videos towards the end of this video. But again, this is coming from a mainstream source, astronomy.com. Yeah, astronomy.com. So anyway, look at that. That is what we're told the stars looked like in 1962 at an altitude of 82,000 feet. Now, in my mind, that looks like light bright. That looks fake. But more importantly, and you guys might argue. I'd like to hear what y'all would say to defend this. Do you think it's real, or do you think they fake this? You know where I stand. I say it's fake. But if you guys think it's real, maybe you would fabricate an excuse like, well, cameras weren't as good as they are today, aperture settings, blah blah blah, or maybe you guys would say, yeah, it does look fake to me. But more importantly, the moon coming through here from right to left on your screen. That's a crescent moon, and the glaringly obvious problem that I see with that is there's a star right dead center of the moon. So, and that's the unlit part of the moon. So they made a mistake and they put a star right in the part of the moon that would not be illuminated by the sun on the heliocentric model. So either you have to believe that A, they faked this, which is what I think, or B, the star was behind the moon and somehow its light was bright enough to penetrate through, what is the diameter of the moon, like 2,900 miles? 2,900 miles of rock and dirt? Or the star is in front of the moon, which would mean it's less than 238,000 miles from Earth, which makes no sense given what they tell us how big stars are and how hot they are and blah, blah, blah. So I'd just like to know, what kind of excuse you guys would come up with on that. So if you could, just send me a text message and say, hey, Mace, I watched your video. Here's where you're mistaken, and why this shouldn't be alarming. Maybe you guys will say, well, they did fake it. That's obviously faked, but here's why it doesn't matter, and this is why we can excuse this lie that's on astronomy.com. So anyway, I look forward to hearing back from y'all. Take care and have a good day.